These are the three Dallas Cowboys that will be key and should show up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if the Cowboys are going to advance into the divisional round and have a potential trip to San Francisco. Tonight, we'll talk about those three players that will be key that the Cowboys need to show up, and we'll break down the game. We'll have the bet of the week, as we always do around this time. Usually, we have that segment on Thursdays, but since the game is tomorrow and it is a Sunday night, we'll get into all of that tonight here on A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. So do me a favor, hit the like button, share the stream. If you are new here, consider subscribing. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, hit the thumbs up because that helps the show grow and grow. So, without any further ado, I'm excited. Let's get into the show officially now that more of us are here. 1, 2, and 3. That's not it. What is up, everybody, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network. With a lot more content coming your way, make sure that you check out atozsports.com/Dallas. Remember that Primetime is brought to you by our friends over at FreemanMazda.net. And tonight, we will talk about the three players and coaches that must show up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in order to advance to the next round. And we won't lose time tonight. We won't lose time. Let me fire this question up in the chat. Let me know what you guys think about this. Who is the most important Cowboy versus the Tampa Bay Bucs? Who is number one on your list? Who is number one on your list against the Tom Brady-led Buccaneers? It can be someone from offense, someone from defense, someone from the coaching staff. And spoiler alert, mine is from the coaching staff. And of course, with a side note, the quarterback is always the most important player of the game. But I wanted to change it up and go with somebody else for this show in particular. But let's see some of your answers here really quickly. Micah Parsons for Corey. Mark goes with Dak. Parsons is Albert. Carlos Guzman says 6/Pollard. So the running backs. The QBs is Jeff Clark. Triggs goes with Dayron Bland. And that is an interesting one because he's probably facing Chris Godwin, I assume. I mean, I guess the door is open for a surprise change and maybe having Dayron Bland playing outside, but that would be somewhat of a long shot, I guess. Clayton goes Dak without a doubt. John Jones goes with Dak, of course. And speaking of John Jones, UFC fans, congratulations on finally having the A. John Jones fight scheduled. Shout out to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, here's mine. I'm going to go with Dan Quinn as my number one player, Cowboy, that must show up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if the Cowboys are to advance to the divisional round. Here is why. Listen, the Cowboys' pass defense is my biggest concern heading into Monday night. I am more concerned about the pass defense than I am about the offensive line, than I am about the offensive play calling, all of that. My biggest concern is that since week 14, when Anthony Brown went down injured, the Cowboys have been the 29th pass defense in the NFL per EPA per play, as measured by Ben Baldwin's website, runningbacksdon'tmatter.com. And it's not only that the Cowboys are giving up big plays, because if you also look into success rate, the Cowboys are 28th against the pass, defensively speaking. And to me, this comes down to the Cowboys not having a clear answer at cornerback from a talent perspective, because Jordan Lewis went down injured, and that leaves the Cowboys with fewer choices to respond to Anthony Brown's injury. In other words, they are running out of corners, pretty much. Their plan B, Kelvin Joseph, didn't work out. Trayvon Mullen is ruled out for this one. So it really comes down to Nashawn Wright and Xavier Rhodes, who has yet to play a single snap with a star on his helmet. So, knowing that the Cowboys don't really have the personnel to really fire back and fix the secondary, it all comes down to me to, what is Dan Quinn's adjustment? And that is not to say that Dan Quinn is suddenly not the defensive coordinator that we all love. He definitely is. He has definitely turned this defense around since he got to Dallas, and he's led one of the best defenses in the NFL for the past couple of years. But, there's got to be something on that game plan, whether it's two high safeties for most of the game, which would be kind of a deviation from what the Cowboys usually do. Would cover one defenses, would cover three looks as well. Do they help their cornerbacks out, especially those on the outside, with some safety help? Or do they maybe change things up and have Trayvon Diggs follow Mike Evans around, which has not been done a lot by the Cowboys this season? Trayvon Diggs has played the vast majority of the snaps on the same side of the field all season long. So having him shadow Mike Evans, even in this situation, would be different from what the Cowboys normally do. Or maybe does it involve a surprise move and having Bland start on the outside and maybe get a nickel safety or a nickel cornerback against Chris Godwin, which would be a major risk in my opinion, but something that the Cowboys can do defensively has to fall on Dan Quinn, in my opinion. So he is, to me, the most important Cowboy heading into this game. I realize maybe I am cheating a little bit because I'm going with a coach, not with a player. But to me, that is the story of this game. How do you hide the biggest problem on your team? And that will fall on Dan Quinn. Or, at the very least, you don't even have to fix your defense entirely, but how do you come up with those takeaways against one of the smartest quarterbacks in the game right now and probably the greatest of all time? Let's see here. Shout out to all of you in the chat. Do me a favor and hit the like button. Let's see here. Seeing some of your comments here. Joel Wilson says, our defensive backs is questionable. That's why we're going to have to score. And that is true. This one's looking like an over kind of game for me. I don't know if for you too. Oh boy. The Bengals turned the ball over. And the Ravens might have a shot here to take a lead. Oh boy. Here we go. Tom Downey's burner account, Toxic Tom, says, run up the A-gap, only curl routes, and feature Noah Brown. That's obviously a sarcastic comment by my guy, Toxic Tom. Shout out to you, sir. Welcome into the show. Who else here? We definitely need to be changed to show up, says Jeff Clark. Pollard for sure, says Stephen Robinson. Run the ball, says John Jones over at Facebook. Inez goes with Dak as her X factor there. Putting the shot up against Evan, he is long, says Corey. Ooh, that's an interesting one. Hey, listen, Dan Quinn might change things up. I don't know if I love that personally. Let me block a Facebook spammer here really quickly. I don't know if I am in love with that plan, Corey, because I would just love having Trayvon Diggs and Mike Evans most of the game, best on best. That would be an interesting change-up for the defense. I think that Trayvon Diggs might find himself in some shadow situations against Mike Evans tomorrow night. And I think that Dayron Bland is definitely one of the most important players on this game as well. Because as I said earlier in the week, yeah, Mike Evans is the guy that might provide the home runs for Tom Brady and the Bucs. He might be the guy with over 1,100 yards for the season. But he's at 77 catches while Chris Godwin is at over 100. And even though Brady targets Godwin in underneath routes and maybe not these deep shots, he is that easy button for their offense. And he's going to be on Dayron Bland most of the game. And that is definitely one of those situations in which I am a little bit nervous about Dayron Bland too. We have talked a lot about outside cornerback, and that is the biggest issue on this team. But man, Bland is going to have to also show up on this game. So let's stay tuned for that. Come on, Toxic Tom. Come on. I don't believe you, Toxic Tom. Toxic Tom says, Mo, I got a bonus from work. I put 500 on a 2-leg parlay, took the Giants and the Bucs with the points, one down. Toxic Tom, I don't believe you, man. I don't believe you. And if you did, that's only an emotional hedge. That's only an emotional hedge. Toxic Tom, you care too much about this team, man. You care too much about this team, even though you hide it with some sarcasm in the comments. I know it. I know it. Russell says Bucs can only score 20 points a game. If we stop over, if we stop over 20, it's over, says Russell. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to number 2 here. My number 1 Cowboy that must show up has to be Dan Quinn. Let's get to number 2, though, really quickly. And maybe we're getting into the obvious portion of the show, but give me Micah Parsons. And here is my angle. Here is why I am bringing Micah Parsons up, even though it is somewhat of an obvious answer. We act like Micah Parsons is not getting the job done anymore. And listen, sacks might have decreased, and maybe the Cowboys are not getting as many QB hits as we would like them to have. But Micah Parsons finished the year with a true argument at Defensive Player of the Year. He's not going to win it. That race is over. The All-Pro votes are out, and Nick Bosa was also named a first-team All-Pro with more votes to show off. That means that the same voters that will vote for the NFL awards will not give Micah the Defensive Player of the Year, but he has a true argument for it. He was tied with Bosa at number 1 with 90 QB pressures. He was number 1 in pass rush win rate in the NFL. He is the 6th most double-teamed pass rusher in the entire NFL. That's according to Seth Walder's analytics over at Twitter. Shout out to him. You should follow him for sure. And here is somewhat of the secret, somewhat of the secret sauce to this conversation. And this is where I lose somewhat of my analytical way of looking at things and looking at numbers and all of that. This is a gut feeling. I am going to allow myself to show some, pure emotion and gut feeling here. But Micah might have that daddy power, man. He had his daughter over the weekend, according to his social media. That is why he missed practice at the end of the week. That was a personal reason. And I don't know. Mike Trout, when he had his baby, came back in 8 games, hit 6 home runs for the LA Angels. We might have a similar situation in our hands here. I think that Micah Parsons goes off against the Tampa Bay Bucs. Plus, it's the playoffs. Second consecutive year being named as a first-team All-Pro. That is the first time for a new player in the league in back-to-back years since Lawrence Taylor. Give me Micah Parsons in a huge day. And even if he isn't the guy getting sacks, free up enough of the interior defensive linemen to do their work, or maybe give us some of those looks that we've seen all season with Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence on the same side of the defensive line in order to isolate D-Law on the Bucs left guard, Nick Leverett, who might play injured in this game. He has been limited all week as well in practice. I think that he even missed one of the practices. Robert Hainsey, the center, has been limited all week as well. So give me Micah Parsons being a force and showing off that daddy power tomorrow. And last but not least, and by the way, let me know in the chat, how many sacks do you think Micah Parsons is going to have tomorrow? Let me know. Or if you think that he's going to go without a sack, that's also fair. Oh, snap. Jonah Williams, left tackle for the Bengals, is going to the locker room. That would be Two starting offensive linemen remaining for Cincinnati in this game. Oh, man, that's bad. That's bad. Excuse me for the parentheses. And of course, the Ravens botch oh my God. There is no way Snoop Hundley just did that. Snoop Hundley just channeled his inner Tony Romo, escaping the pressure and doing some magic over there. Okay, anyways, back to the show. I'm sorry. It's the playoffs. I know that you're watching too. I know that you are watching too. Okay, let's see. Micah, 2 sacks is Joel Wilson. Oh my God. Yes, let's go. Robert goes with 2 sacks. Micah gets home 3 times as PZ. 0 for Tom Downey. Brett goes with 3. You know what? I am keeping it on the low key side of things, but I'm grabbing 1 sack. 1 sack for Micah Parsons. More on that later too, by the way, because I'm going to give you the best bet of the week, as we have done all season long. We went 13-4 in the regular season, but now I am going to also give you 3 player props that I like, and I'm going to give you the odds and everything. 3 Cowboys player props that I like. Corey says Xavier Rhodes is active. I think that he will play a key factor. I also think that, man, he might start. Like, all kidding aside, and I know this might sound crazy because he has not played with the Cowboys yet, but Xavier Rhodes might start tomorrow night. Let's not rule that possibility out. Okay, so Micah Parsons was number 2. Stats for those of you who are joining the show, who are the 3 players. The number 1 Cowboy that must show up against the Tampa Bay Bucs was Dan Quinn. Number 2 was Micah Parsons. And then number 3, on the obvious side of things, once more, I'm sorry, but it is true. We got to go with QB Dak Prescott. Here's what I wanted to say about Dak Prescott, though. Here is what I wanted to say. It might not be fair, but the Cowboys are living in a world in which they need Dak Prescott to show up. It might not be fair. I think it is not fair, actually. Here's what I mean. And we can go back all the way back into March, too. And we can talk about how the Cowboys could have paid Amari Cooper and they didn't. Could have kept paying Amari Cooper. It's not like he needed a new deal either. They could have kept even Lyle Collins and say, you know what, we have some depth with Terrence Steele. They could have done all of that. They could have kept Cedric Wilson. They didn't. And within the season, they could be more aggressive on early downs. They could be saying, you know what? What if we don't rely on Dak Prescott bailing us out on 3rd and 10, on 3rd and 7? What if we don't run the football on 1st and 10 and then do it again on 2nd and 10? What if we make life easier on Dak? The Cowboys could be saying all of that, but they're not. So, unfortunately, and I say this because I think that the Cowboys could be more efficient with their offense, they are asking Dak Prescott to play hero ball. And there is no way to talk about the 3 Cowboys that must show up and not touch, the quarterback as one of the players. It's got to be Dak Prescott. He's got to show up. I think that Dak Prescott is a tremendous quarterback. I think that he is very good. I think that he gets over-criticized because of the interceptions, even though they have been a problem, even those who, have been, because I know that some of them have not been his fault. A lot of them, actually. Some of them have, and it's okay to say that. It's okay to say that. But, man, make life easier on him. I'm not sure if the Cowboys will do that. They have shown us that they won't all season long, probably. And you can go back from week 7 until this time. And that's what I was showing you, actually. I forgot to mention it. This is EPA per play since week 7. Dak Prescott is number 3 in the NFL since he returned in QB efficiency. Because this is EPA per play combined with completion percentage over expectations. And Dak Prescott has been the 3rd most efficient QB in the NFL since he returned. Keep in mind that these numbers include the interceptions that he has thrown since his return, which have been a ton. So these numbers mean that even with the interceptions, he's still number 3 in the NFL in efficiency. If you exclude turnovers, he goes to number 2. And the difference between number 2 and number 3 widens as well. So Dak has been playing great, but part of that has been on third down. And the problem with third down, as we saw firsthand in week 18, is that sometimes it is not sustainable. So sometimes you cannot go 8 for 10 on third down, or maybe even a more conservative number, like say 6 for 10. It's hard to do that in the NFL. Third down offense has never been sustainable. That is why teams like the Chiefs, teams like the Bills, and even the Bengals lately have always the pedal to the metal on first down, on second down. They're throwing the ball. Meanwhile, the Cowboys are one of the teams that run the football the most in neutral situations on early down. So hopefully that changes. I think that the Cowboys will stick to what they do. Maybe the fact that they're facing a top-tier defensive line that already showed you in week 1 that it's tough to run on them, maybe the Cowboys change their approach, and maybe they want to exploit a banged-up secondary from Tampa Bay. But at the end of the day, I think that Dak Prescott will need to show up, because I think that the Cowboys will put a lot on his plate once more. Let's see here. Noah Brown at least stepped up, says Joel. Joey Vela says Dak needs to run the game anytime he can get. Run the ball anytime that he can get. Interesting. Sloppy toxic mouth. Shout out to Joey Vela. That is his username right now. I think that Dak could run the football a little bit more. I would love to see the Cowboys implementing more designed QB keepers as well, especially near the goal line. I've always thought that Dak Prescott could be as lethal as prime Russell Wilson was running zone read plays near the goal lines. Russell Wilson, when he was at Seattle in his prime, that was kind of an unstoppable move. Mark says, hey, Mo, you should compare Dak's number to Josh Allen's. Man, when Josh Allen threw that, what was it, his second turnover, I couldn't stop thinking, man, if that was Dak Prescott, we would not be hearing the end of it. Man, the Ravens are knocking on the Bengals' door. That would be insane if the Bengals lose this game. Now, by the way, Payo McCartney says, I can see a rematch versus San Francisco. For those of you who maybe have not been paying too much attention to the NFL playoffs today, the results around the league are pretty clear. Whoever wins tomorrow night is making the trip to San Francisco, while the Giants are making the trip to the Philadelphia Eagles. That is official now. So if the Cowboys advance, they are facing the San Francisco 49ers and Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. An instant playoff rematch that would be, and with instant, I mean from one year to another, against the team that eliminated them last year. Bruce says, Mo, I thought about Trevor Lawrence throwing 4 picks, and if that were Dak, we'd never hear the end of it. Not even if Dak had the same second half performance, right? That is true. But since it is Trevor Lawrence, since it is not the Dallas Cowboys, we're hearing about how Trevor Lawrence is amazing, which he is, by the way, which he is. My point here is that it is funny how Dak and the Cowboys usually get treated differently. Cody Reyes says, Brock Purdy hasn't played a good defense. Man, Brock Purdy, here's the thing about Brock Purdy. Winning is a powerful drug, and the 49ers have been on a run. 11 win streak, if you include their playoff win against the Seattle Seahawks. Hopefully, this topic is relevant to us when we talk about it next week. I really hope so. But here are some early thoughts on Brock Purdy. Let's play the optimist role here and talk about, what that could look like. And a quick thought on Brock Purdy, since he is such a controversial topic. He's been playing good football. Like, he is legit. But also, he's getting treated like by some like the best rookie ever. And I saw this NFL Rookie Watch Twitter account post a throw from Brock Purdy to the left sideline and go, what a throw by Brock Purdy, when the guy is literally throwing into coverage. And if that was a good throw, that was a touchdown any day of the week. In contrast, he sets up his receiver to get blasted by the crashing safety. So I think that he has played good. I think that he is legit. I think that the 49ers are a big time threat to the Cowboys and to any team that plays in front of them. But I do think that the Brock Purdy hype has been getting a little bit out of hand. Eagles have not played anyone, says Joel Wilson. Man, I for one, have always said that strength of schedule is also always an overblown story. But we hear about that all the time with the Cowboys, how the Cowboys have not played anybody, blah, blah, blah. Cowboys are 5-3 against playoff teams. The last time that the Eagles have beaten a playoff team that was not the New York Giants happened mid-October. And when you think about that, that is kind of crazy. I think that the Eagles are actually, like, they are a beatable team. I'm not saying that, if the Cowboys make it to the divisional round, they will. I have not a prediction yet. But for the meantime, let's worry about the Tampa Bay Bucs. And with that, it's time for betting the Cowboys. For those of you who are new to the show, every single week, we've given out the best bet of the week to make for every Cowboys game. The only rule is that it has to be a -110 bet. Essentially, an even bet. It cannot be something super safe. It cannot be something super crazy. So this is the segment of the show in which we get into the predictions. So I will give you my bet, but before I give you that, do me a favor and hit the like button and also drop your score prediction in the chat. Remember that thumbs up takes about 1 second to press on it, and it is the single biggest thing that you can do to help out the show. So do me a favor, hit the thumbs up and drop your score prediction for Dallas versus Tampa Bay right now in the chat. Do me a favor. Let's go. Betting the Cowboys season, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. My bet. Oh boy, I'm nervous about this one. I'm nervous about this game. I don't know if I will be able to sleep tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The best bet of the week. The Cowboys are 2.5 point favorites. The over-under is at 45.5. My bet for the Cowboys' first playoff game of the year is the Dallas Cowboys -2.5. Listen, the number is below a field goal. So this is close to a pick'em. Not exactly, but, close to a pick'em. Here's what I think about this game. The reasons why we want to pick the Bucs have more to do with previous seasons than it has to do with this season. I just don't trust the Buccaneers offense to keep up with the Cowboys offense. I think that the Cowboys defense is still good. It is still legit. They have struggled because of that outside cornerback opposite Trevon Diggs. I am expecting the Cowboys to figure that out on this game. And maybe the recipe to that is Xavier Rhodes, who, he was an All-Pro in 2017. He has gone to the Pro Bowl 3 times. It's not like he was on vacation when the Cowboys called him. He was just waived by the Buffalo Bills because of roster management stuff. He played 2 games for Buffalo. So Xavier Rhodes might be ready to go for the Cowboys this Monday night. And that means at least, something close to average cornerback play, which might be all that the Cowboys need to limit an offense that has not generated big plays all season long. They had 3 versus the Carolina Panthers, but other than that, they have been one of the worst offenses in the NFL generating big plays. I think that the fact that Tom Brady is not a guy that can roll out of the pocket like the Jaguars did to the Cowboys and the Titans and the Texans. Brady is, of course, better than many of those guys, but he will need to work from the pocket like a traditional pocket passer. And I think that the Cowboys will get pressure on him. I really think that. So give me the Cowboys. I think they're the better team. And I think that our biases are making us think that the Cowboys won't win this one. Now, don't get me wrong. This is a close one. The Bucs do have a good defensive line. Brady has two 1,000-yard receivers. This is not going to be an easy game. But I think that the Cowboys shine as the best team around. Now, I'm going to get into the scores in the chat. While you do that, keep pouring them in while you do that. And before I give you my actual score prediction, let me talk to you about our friends over at freemanmazda.net, because we've got the ride of the week, the 2023 Mazda CX-5 2.5S Turbo all-wheel drive. This one starts at $38,350. It's got a sunroof. It's got all-wheel drive. It's got a Wi-Fi hotspot, which is a game-changing feature. It's got hands-free liftgate, lane departure warning, and a miles per gallon capacity of 22 when you are in the city. That goes up to 27 when you are in the highway. You can check out the pictures and the features all on freemanmazda.net. You can get your free quote. And as always, remember that Freeman Mazda is a family-owned business for over 65 years. And when you choose Freeman Mazda, you are choosing a lifelong partnership with your car dealer. Once more, check it out over at freemanmazda.net. My score, my one mode prediction is 30-23. Give me 3 passing touchdowns for Dak. Give me 2 touchdowns for Tom Brady. I think that this becomes a high scoring game, relatively 53 points total. My prediction, and this is always just to illustrate, because as Gilbert says, I never like to predict scores on a game, because if I could predict the score on a game, I would be a billionaire. And I agree. This is just to paint a picture, man. Of course. Let's see here. 42-24 says David. Says, I'm so pumped. Man, I am too. 27-17 says Junior Carrillo. 28-17 says Donna. 20-14 for Joel. Let's see here. 28-17 says Bruce. Who else we have here? 27-21 for Inez. Jack goes with 35-21. Clayton, sir, goes with 35-10. Cowboys. Ooh-wee. Can you imagine that? Man, I will tell you something, though. From what we have seen this Super Wildcard round, I'm just expecting all of us to age like 30 years before the game is over. Like, the games have been intense. Even 49ers Seahawks, which was kind of a blowout at the end of it, the first half was crazy. Like, Seattle was fighting the 49ers. So I'm just expecting a long night, folks, for better or worse. 24-10 is Toxic Tom, but, in favor of the Bucs. He says, expect another repeat from last year. Russell goes with 31-17. It's going to be a fun one. Here are 3 more betting picks for you. And these are just betting props for fun. I'm not even sure if I'm going to bet them, but I like them. I think that I will. Just, beer money, not anything huge or anything like that. But here are my 3 additional props, since it is the playoffs and we want to have fun. Let me say if you would bet or not, okay? I will give you my 3 props and you will let me know in the chat, bet or nah, okay? Are we ready? All right, here we go. Minus 115 odds, so pretty close to even. Dak Prescott over 244 and a half yards, passing yards. 244 and a half. Bet or nah? Let me know in the chat. Man, I think that this is going to be one of those games in which Prescott is going to throw the football a lot. So I like the over. I like the over, man. Sus goes with over, so that's a bet. Dan goes with bet. Mark goes with bet. David also goes with bet. All right, Corey too. Man, everyone's betting that. You know, the downside of it is that if the Cowboys win like we want them to win and maybe they look dominant too, the Cowboys might run the football a lot, but I don't think it will be that kind of game. I think it will be one of those in which Dak is going to have to maybe throw the football over 40 times even. Ron Pollard runs as Joel. Gary goes with bet. Inez bet. David bet. Donna as well. Junior Carrillo says if Prescott is throwing that much, we are going to lose. We need to run the ball. But man, the Buccaneers, though, the Buccaneers are good at stopping the run. Like they've got Vita Vea, Akeem Hicks. The Cowboys have not rushed for over 4 yards per carry since the Houston Texans game. That is a concern to me. So I'm expecting a huge passing game on this one. On a similar note, get ready for another bet or not. Dalton Schultz, 4.5 catches over plus 130. So we're getting plus money on this. For every $100 that you bet, you get 130 in winnings. So I like the odds. Dalton Schultz over 4.5 catches. I think that, Dak might be tempted to work that middle of the field, especially if Todd Bowles insists on blitzing his linebackers. Devin White is a menace blitzing. That's what Todd Bowles likes to do. He will blitz your quarterback. It doesn't matter the situation. So I think the Dalton Schultz will be huge on this game. Corey goes with nah. Dan says bet. Junior says bet. Everyone says bet pretty much. Bruce says push. Man, how? How can you push that? It's 4.5. Bruce. Brett goes with bet. Trick says, but Dalton needs 8 catches. Goodbye, Noah. All right, my last one before we get out of here. Micah Parsons over 0.75 sacks. In other words, this Micah gets a sack. That is my bet. Micah gets a sack, and that is at plus 125. So we're also getting plus money on it, which makes sense. Sacks are hard to come by. Bet or not? Those are my only bets, ladies and gentlemen. Bet, says Dan. Mark also likes it. He says bet Parsons. A lot of exclamation marks on that comment. Micah with 2, says Corey. There you go. Brad, Corey, Peter, Joey, Bella, Donna. All right. Oh, boy. I won't see you tomorrow night. I won't see you because you will get game day coverage from my man Skywalker Steele and former Cowboys wide receiver Jesse Holley as we do it here on ADC Sports Dallas. Toxic Tom says, Mo, how much would you wager on a Dallas win? I don't discuss the actual numbers, but I will tell you what, every bet of mine, except for props, is the same unit. Like I use the same number for every bet. Even if I like a play more than other, I just know that I have some biases, so I keep it to 1 unit per game, per bet. So for example, tonight I bet Ravens plus 8.5. That was a unit. I played Bills minus 14. That was a unit. Obviously, that wasn't a win. This is looking good, though. So, just the 1 unit. But, hey, I was saying, won't see you tomorrow night. I will see you until Tuesday night. You can catch the morning show tomorrow with Skywalker Steele. You can check the game day show as well. We will be back on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central. And I'm going to tell you something. Man. I don't want to talk about coaching hires. I don't want to talk about the hot seat for Mike McCarthy. I want to talk to you about how the Cowboys got a W versus the Tampa Bay Bucs. That's what I want. I'm nervous. I won't lie to you. All right. See you tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen. See you tomorrow night. Hopefully. No, Tuesday night. It's Tuesday night. Hopefully we talk about a playoff win and we're not talking about whether the Cowboys should get rid of Mike McCarthy or not, whether Dak Prescott is the quarterback or not. Just get me there. Get me there. Might have one of those hot teas that are made for sleeping, or maybe some melatonin. I don't know. We need some sleep. We need some sleep. Shout out to all of you. Hit the like button, share the stream. I will see you tomorrow night. Prime time brought to you by freemanmascot.net. Adiós. Nos vemos el día de martes. Nos vemos. Bye bye. Playoffs. Post-temporada.